Hey, everybody. Thank you for coming and listening to the podcast. Today, I don't have any video. I mean, I'm on video, but not showing anything. So you can just sit back and listen. I am behind. I'm going to share with you today, day 31, which was supposed to roll on Sunday. But on Saturday, let me just share my story. On Saturday, I went to Sacramento for two reasons. One was to go to a party with my dear friends from the Golden State Killer case, like a lot of the rape victims, and then friends I've met through them and all of that. I was supposed to go to that party on Saturday night. I thought, being the mom that I am, that I'd make this an efficient trip and also get the stuff from our Sacramento house when my daughter had to move down unexpectedly because when my mom died. This has just been one hell of a year. Let's just put it that way. So here's the thing in California, we've had a heat wave. I don't mean a little heat wave. I mean the kind that makes people that live by the coast cry, just cry. So we went up there and we had to get a U-Haul truck because they don't rent U-Haul vans one way because apparently U-Haul loses vans when they're rented one way. Sounds like a fleet problem, but I'm not going to ask any questions. Fine. We have to get a truck. I'm going to have to drive a truck. I'm 5 feet tall. I need to emphasize that. So we go over to the house before the party on Saturday, go over to the house to get the stuff. Turns out there's a lot more stuff than we thought, mostly because of miscommunication, but things that should have been hauled away got left and we got to clean out the house. So we're going to have to take the stuff that should have got hauled away and put it on the truck. So in the process of all that, it's extremely hot. I melt like some kind of giant, short, round, white person that melts in the heat. I completely melt. I run to Target to go get us waters. And that's what had happened. I fainted. I fainted and I broke this finger, but they can't really set it because I'm supposed to have it. I'm typing. So, I'm just working with it lame because that's what we all do. If you're a mother, we just power through. But anyway, I fainted. I went out. I hurt myself, hurt everything. I mean, everything got hurt. Thank God, a giant black man, like a football player, caught me. And I'm like, baby, I should have just crashed into you. And he's like, I have a hard body. And I'm like, dude, I have a soft body. It would have worked out perfectly. Anyway, luckily he got me back into the store and didn't call 911 because that would have been the most humiliating thing ever. And so essentially I was then after that useless, right? Because now I hate life and everything. So I didn't go to the party, but I kind of couldn't because I had to go to urgent care and everything was a mess. And I don't think I've ever been so hot. Then I had to drive the truck home on Sunday. And that was really hard because again, 5 feet, I barely reached the pedals. I have a cold cramp down one leg because I had to shoot my hips out so I could reach under the anyway. That's not why you listen to this podcast. I'm just saying I'm a little behind. So today, day 31, I'm going to try to get all three out because I had already written them, but I amended this one just now because this was what I was going to roll with on Sunday. But we've actually had news as it happens with Trump. We've had news breaks since I wrote this. So I added a little bit to the front and then went through and rewrote parts of it based on the news that broke. So just sit back and relax and let me take you through Trump 2017 versus Trump 2024. I was listening to him, which is not pleasant, but I was listening to how much things have changed. And, as the rhetorician, I always am thinking about the nature of the language, right? What are the word differences that have happened? He's supposedly had the same positions on things, although we know his positions are based on what the people around him want. I mean, Trump doesn't have a position on anything. That's why he's completely incoherent when anybody asks him a specific question. His position is essentially remembering what people have told him. So with that in mind, and what we're seeing with what really to me looks like sundowning, a form of some kind of mental ailment, but his use of substances his whole life, it's hard to know what's really happening in his brain because anybody knows if you're using something like Adderall that much or cocaine, he may or may not drink. I do not know, but I do know that Noel Casler has said that there was quite a bit of drug use on the set at The Apprentice. Like that was just de rigueur, normal. So it's hard to know what his dementia is from. But it's interesting because one of the things that happens as you get older, I'm not going to get this word right. It's called it's inhibition deregulation. That's what it is. I think I got the words right. Your inhibitions begin to deregulate as you get older. It's just a thing that happens. It's why when you take Uncle Jack out to dinner and he starts hitting on the waitresses like some kind of disgusting pig, because his inhibitions are now dysregulated, right? He has no inhibitions. He still has them, but they're slowly breaking down. That's just a thing that happens with aging. So what we're seeing with Trump for sure is his inhibitions are dysregulating, and he is not inhibiting himself anymore. I'm not quite sure if he ever did. He seems quite the hedonist, but that's a way cognitively where you don't have the control to stop yourself. It's one of the reasons I tell my daughter, don't ever make inappropriate jokes now as a young person, because that will get written in your brain. And I'm telling you, it's happening to me now. I'm remembering more of my younger years all of a sudden. It just seems to happen at 60. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's probably because my mom died, actually. But I remember those old things. But I don't want to have, when I have my inhibitions become dysregulated, I don't want to sound like a crackpot. Hopefully, I'll just sound like somebody who lived in Santa Cruz and his Aquarius and likes nuts and berries. Like, hopefully my inner geek will come out and I'll just nerd out and become a crone. That's my plan. But let's talk about this in the context of Trump, since we're just sitting around talking, which is, I'm trying to hear you, but I can't. All right. So in looking at this, I took the two speeches I took that I looked at, because just wanted to come, it's rhetoric. This is a rhetoric exercise, but I hope you find it interesting. I compared the 2017 inauguration speech. So remember when he got up there and he started talking about the dark American, I'm going to have it in here. I forget what it is, but he has this stark contrast of this horrible message about America. So I took the 2017 speech and then I compared it to 2024, a rally that he did just last week in I don't know how to say this Native American word, Waunakee, Wisconsin. Waunakee, I hope that's it. That was a stump speech that was just right before, that was the day of the vice presidential debate. So I thought that was a good landmark. You'd know the date. It was the one in Wisconsin on the day of the vice presidential debate. But before we dig in, I just want to tell you the news that just broke that changed everything. And I mean, that made me change this blog a little bit because it speaks to the issue, which is what Bob Woodward, who, can we all just have a moment of contempt for Bob Woodward for sitting on this long, just for a book? Sorry, we're just no, just sorry, old man, but no. All right, he had recent conversations with Trump, and he had information about Trump, that Trump had recent conversations with Vladimir Putin. I've got the link in here if you want to read more about it, but it's everywhere on the news today. So this is not something that's hidden. These unexpected private talks with the Russian leader happened since he's left office, which could be a Logan Act violation. No independent member of our citizenry. And at that point, Trump had no longer an official role whatsoever. You are not allowed to go talk to other countries' leaders, Elon, Tucker. It's just not allowed. You have to get permission to do that crap. So this means it paints a startling picture of the former president, because he's still deeply involved with foreign players who are not our friends. These are foreign players who want to destroy our country. According to Woodward, Trump had multiple calls with Putin and even sent, now, if you haven't heard this part, you're going to need to sit down because it's going to surprise you. Even sent COVID-19 testing machines directly to Russia, to Putin, during the pandemic. There's a reason, I'm sorry, I'm going to go off here for a minute. There's a reason we're in NATO, and there's a reason we have allies, and we share intelligence, scientific breakthroughs, our thoughts. We share these things with our allies because we're all working together to bring democracy to the globe, right? That's just a thing. It's just true. And if we choose to do business with people that are not our allies, including those against whom we have sanctions, like Russia, it has to be highly, highly watched and known about and covered, and it has to have transparency and everything else. We literally have sanctions against Putin. And this man, as our president, took machines we needed in our country and sent them to another country. You just have to get this in your head. People here were dying everywhere. I have never been so afraid in my life. I still mask because I am not willing to compromise my health, such as it is. I am not willing to compromise my health for COVID. And this person who was our president at the time, sent him stuff sent our enemies who didn't have their own resources to make their own COVID machines, because Putin doesn't allow his people to innovate or study or know things or even eat properly. And we sent him COVID machines. Guys, like, like arrest him now. Where are the handcuffs? Are you kidding me? Okay, the revelation highlights Trump's continued engagement in international affairs, even as he campaigns to return to the White House, casting a long shadow over his past claims of America first. He's a frickin' liar. The recent story underscores a stark contrast of the vision of unity Trump has painted in his 2017 inauguration, or I'm sorry, the vision of unity Trump painted in his 2017 inauguration speech and given way to a tone of division and blame and grievance in his 2024 campaign rhetoric. In 2017, Trump's inaugural address spoke to a forgotten America. Those of you out there who haven't been heard. And he promised that forgotten men of our country will be forgotten no longer. You, the Flat Earth Society, those of you who believe God is a punitive and rageful God, all of you who hate others because of the color of your skin, you have been long ignored by this country for, oh, it didn't add for good reason. Sorry. But in a rally speech this year, Trump's tone was anger and bitterness. He didn't really come with that. You will be forgotten no longer. Instead, he blamed the current administration for everything from economic instability to impending global catastrophe, claiming we're not going to make predictions because the predictions always come true. They are very close to a global catastrophe. That's a man fighting for our country. All he wants things to do is fail. I mean, it's interesting. I'd done this before the hurricane went nuts and we found out how much Trump, because I was preparing to go to Sacramento, so I'd kind of prepared ahead. And then the hurricane hit, Helene hit, right? And all of a sudden, all we see is Trump spreading lies and lies and lies about FEMA. And the thing is, he thinks he's so stupid. He thinks he's hurting FEMA and he thinks he's hurting Vance. He thinks he's hurting Walls and Harris. And nothing could be, all he's doing is hurting us. It's just hurting us. He's hurting the people I care about in Appalachia. He's hurting the people in anywhere right now that doesn't have good communications, electricity. We're going to need heat pretty soon because winter is coming, to sound like a TV show. I mean, we got stuff to do. So this is extremely, extremely annoying. And the recent revelations are troubling because they raise the question about Trump's loyalties and his ongoing influence in global affairs, despite no longer holding office. Logan Act. By maintaining close private ties with Putin, a leader widely condemned for his aggression in Ukraine, Trump risks compromising America's stance on international conflicts. Crap, Trump's put us at risk right now internationally just with talking to Putin. That's just put us at risk. How did this happen? Moreover, Trump's decision to send Putin COVID-19 testing machines at the height of the pandemic suggests a prioritization of personal relationships over national welfare. It's funny how journalists use nice words to say he fucked us over. Such actions blur the lines between public duty and personal interests and set a precedence for how leaders might use their influence post-presidency, potentially undermining the integrity and independence expected of former heads of states. You think we expect integrity and independence? And I don't know, maybe be pro-American? I don't know what I expected for my ex-presidents. I guess I did expect them to be pro-America. There's nothing about what that man did that's pro-America. So here's what I've done in this blog. I'm not going to spend a lot of time reading tables because that's boring. And the thing is, you can read a table, but I'm going to take you through a little tiny bit of what I found. And then but I'm not going to get into the issues. How's that? I'm going to talk about tone and message right now, but I have then a couple more about issues. So you can come into the blog and take a quick look. What you'll see in tone and message and there's a couple more I was going to do, themes and style and rhetoric. So I'm going to stick to the things that I know, like tone, message, themes, and style and rhetoric. But I did pull some samples from nationalism versus partisanship. So that's in here. He's moved from nationalism, which is buy American, hire American, but now he's really shifted more to be just straight partisanship, like us versus them. And then on foreign policy, he has always been rooted in isolationism and military strength, but now he is kind of bonkers about what that means, because he even says we should have a nuclear arms deal with Iran, even though he's the one that stopped it. So this is what I mean about the inhibition, dysregulation, and saying things that aren't all the way thought through. Like that's happening. This man has something very, very wrong. I just don't know. I'm not a diagnostician, but I know there's a lot of factors at play here that could make him mental, aside from the fact that he kind of didn't come in with strong mental to begin with. And then finally, in the issues, I look at economic focus. Excuse me, someday I'll learn how to swallow. And there he talks about economic renewal. In 2017, he came in strong on economic renewal, but now his whole platform on the economy is just blaming the Biden administration for inflation and economic woes and energy issues. He doesn't talk about what he wants to do. He's just blaming and blaming and blaming. So again, that's that inhibition, right? It's just doesn't work anymore. If you add his inhibition with his narcissism and frankly, all the pressure he's under from being such a big criminal, it's really getting scrambled. Okay, so here we go on tone and message really quick. Those are just the three issues I looked at, but I just want you to know a little bit of this. In 2017, the tone of Trump's speech was somber determination and a populist resolve. So populism is just saying, I always think of populism as pandering, but that's not really fair. Populism, though, is saying what you think the people want and saying that, we the people kind of thing, we can all make this happen. I owe you a better definition of that. I apologize. I will get that. I'll get that done. That's on me. So but here, let me give you just more specifics because then we don't worry about my bad definition of populism. Trump focuses on restoring power to the people. This is in 2017. The forgotten men and women of our country will no longer be forgotten, and he casts himself as an outsider, bringing change to a broken political system, using language that paints America as a victim of poor leadership and promises. This is post Obama at this time, right? This is coming out of Obama. And poor leadership was a dog whistle for Black. Oh my God. So America has been a victim of Black people, poor leadership, and he promises to put America first and return power to ordinary citizens, white people. Get it? I mean, come on, guys. The dog whistles were there in 2017. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. Everyone is listening to you now, he said. Trump uses a hopeful, empowering tone, speaking directly to the American people, especially those who feel left behind. Okay, that's super traditional politicking. You try to get the people who felt left behind. That's how you start to get your grounding, your footing, right? In 2024, just a mere 7 years later, wait, 7 and 7 is 14. Yeah, 7 years later, 2024, I can do that. His speech is much more aggressive and politically charged, focusing heavily on attacking opponents and the current administration. Trump paints a grim picture of the country, claiming that the whole world is laughing at us. They are not. Except they're laughing at him, but they're not laughing at us. And referencing inflation, foreign policy issues, and border security. Even though he has lied about inflation, he has gotten involved in our foreign policy. Clearly, he's been a foreign actor. And the border security bill he killed. But okay, that's what he's bitching about. He repeatedly targets Biden and Harris, claiming they've caused global instability and enriched Iran, which is hilarious since he broke the agreement we have with them not to build out nuclear weapons. There's a more personalized anger in his tone, focusing on specific grievances and perceived betrayals. So he came in wide in 2017, and as his defects have strengthened and the madness has grown, he has gotten incredibly narrow. And if you were watching me right now, you'd see my hands go from wide to narrow. So there's your visual reference. We have a non-existent president, Trump says, and a non-existent vice president who should be in charge, but nobody knows what's going on. That was on the day of the vice president debate, guys. This wasn't all the way back in June before Biden stepped down and Harris stepped in. No. This is how he's babbling. Trump's tone is critical and aggressive, and he directly attacks them, Biden and Harris, as incompetent and absent from their duties. So when we're talking about tone and message, it's gotten dark, it's gotten very narrow as opposed to broad. When you come in, generally you want to win a lot of people, so you do speak in broad terms. Even on this podcast, I try to be inclusive. That's like a natural speaking skill. The tone you use in your in your speeches is meant typically to motivate and to turn people and to convey some sort of aspiration or desire. He uses a different approach. He uses fear. It's interesting to watch that his followers get interviewed because they actually don't even understand what they're afraid of, but they know they're afraid. So that's what we've seen in the tone and message, from broad to narrow, from first angry but there to protect you, to angry because they're doing it to me. And it's really broken down. And I know most of you listening to this, I'm singing to the choir, but this will allow you to hopefully go out and talk to some people that you talk to that think Trump's so strong. I'm hoping this will help you give them a way to just say, just take a look and see what you think. Do your own analysis. It's interesting. Something you can do. You can just look at the words and see if they're different. In terms of the themes, in his inauguration speech, his theme was unity and power to the people. In his 2024 speech, his speech was about divisive politics. Like he was the one being divisive. Or divisive, sorry, divisive. Impotent and potent. It's all in how you read and misspell words and mispronounce words. My brother always said impotent because he didn't know how to say it out loud. So it was always funny. That's the kind of humor that got giggles in my house, right up there with bowling balls. Okay, there you go. That's it. That's how dad joke. Are those dad jokes? That's terrible. Okay, Trump emphasizes a shift from Washington elites. In 2017, Trump was emphasizing a shift from the Washington elites to ordinary citizens, calling it a historic movement in the likes of which the world has never seen before. I would just like to say that that's probably the most accurate statement Donald Trump has ever made in his whole damn life. This was a historic movement, the likes of which was never seen before. I will concur, Trump, that's you. In 2017, his speech was centered around nationalism, promising to protect America's interests, rebuilding the country's infrastructure and military, stopping crime, and ending American carnage. That's what it was, American carnage. We will bring back jobs. We will bring back borders. We will bring back wealth. We will bring back our dreams. And the focus was on a return to greatness, using patriotic themes of rebuilding and restoring America's strength. For giggles and giggles, I have included at the bottom of the blog little cards, little graphics of each of those promises he made and how well he kept them. It will not surprise you. I'll give him a 15 out of 100. I think he got 15% of what he promised done. That's my armchair analysis. How's that? When it came to the rally just before the vice presidential debate a couple of weeks ago, Trump criticized the Biden administration for flooding Iran with American cash, and highlighted issues like open borders and corruption within the current government. And he shifts between discussing foreign policy, inflation, and domestic incompetence. The speech is laced with hyperbole. We learned about hyperbole back in my first Rhetoric podcast. Hyperbole is just garbage. Bigger than, more than, greater than, that's hyperbole. Framing current events as near apocalyptic failure of leadership. So current events, it's catastrophic. He just said it up there. The world is going to end. Apocalyptic. It's going to end. Kamala and Biden are going to destroy America overnight. Yeah, by the way, they've done a really good job, but okay. And then warning of World War III and a total loss of respect on the world stage. That's what he's harping on right now. Those are his themes. We're not going to make predictions. The theme is alarmist. Trump warning of impending a disaster under the current leadership, especially regarding foreign policy and war. That's Putin. The thing is, everything about what that says is Putin. That's what Putin wants. Putin wants Americans to think we're weak, that we're going to lose, that our allies won't protect us, and that we need to stop supporting Ukraine because really Putin knows what he's doing. And that's where Trump's coming in at, guys. He is so aligned with Putin, it needs to scare everyone. And then finally, his style and rhetoric. Okay. So rhetoric is kind of the words you choose. Your style is how you deliver it. How do you talk? We watched JD Vance pull like a shapeshifter style thing on the debate with people actually talking about him being cute, aside from the, excuse me, I just barfed a little in my mouth factor. There's nothing cute about JD Vance. And if any woman finds himself attracted to him, run. Run, run. It's a frickin' what the hell, Jordan Peele movie. Get out. Go. It's not safe. JD Vance is in the house and it is not safe. Did I get that right? Is it really Jordan Peele? All right. I love those movies though. Wow. Trump's style is populist rhetoric, which is but his language is as we just heard reported today, right now. It wasn't this way when he started in 2017. Right now, his rhetoric, his words, fourth grade level. It was about an eighth grade level, maybe 10th in 2017. He had writers, for one, writers who could really write. He was able to stay on script. He didn't necessarily have a script, but he knew his messaging better. And so his word choice was better. He wasn't getting lost. He wasn't sundowning. He didn't have the amount of pressure on him then that he has now. And when I say pressure, I mean lawsuits. I mean, now he's going to have the Logan. I mean, he's got so many things he's done that are wrong. I don't even know how he gets up in the morning. I guess he doesn't sleep because he's tweeting all night, but holy crap, Trump has really messed up. But at the beginning in 2017, he used more words more broadly. He used words like American carnage. I know that wasn't his word. I think that's Stephen Miller's word or Bannon's word. I'm not sure, but I think it's Stephen Miller's word. Stephen was a big writer for him back then. I believe Stephen's still involved in some of the writing, but it's through the Heritage Foundation now. Just right now during the campaign. It'll change after the campaign. They're doing all their hiring for the Mandate for Leadership, which is Project 2025. They have a whole website where they're hiring people to come in that believe in Project 2025. So if you look at the change from 2017 and Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation is still involved here at 2017. That's how we got our judges, these corrupt judges that are sitting there, how Kavanaugh wasn't investigated for his sexual assaults. Like this happened because the jig was already up. They already were managing all those things to make sure corruption was happening. But we had Stephen Miller very involved at this point. In 2024, we have his engagement playing directly to audience reactions and veering into personal anecdotes about business and Musk. And there's this shift with using emotional rhetoric rather than presidential language. Apparently, Trump's swearing, which pot calling the kettle black because I swear like a truck driver, but his swearing, which again is that inhibition, right? It's gone up something like 60%. So you got to be ready for these things. That's a real thing. His style is in 2024 is more informal, but it's aimed at energizing, not uniting. It's aimed at energizing his base, just the crowd, the people in the room with him at that time. Whoever he's with at that moment, that's all he's focused on. He is not in any way thinking about those speeches, living beyond that moment where he thinks he's doing a job, which of course leads much speculation that Trump's really going to try to do this election all through criming and not through votes. And that's why we have Mark Elias. So, okay, so this is today's blog. I did actually put a conclusion on here. I just find it so interesting. It's like I'm really talking to you too. So it's really fun. The 2017 inauguration speech and the 2024 speech, so 7 years different, really represent two starkly different political moments for Donald Trump. In 2017, he positioned himself as a unifying force, promising to bring back economic prosperity and the return power to the people. By 2024, his rhetoric has become far more divisive, focusing on blaming political opponents for a host of domestic and international crises. The tone and the approach have shifted from hopeful to an aggressive defense against perceived enemies, both foreign and domestic. Yet, in both speeches, Trump emphasizes his role as a fighter for the American people, despite steady evidence, including the news about Putin today, that shows he is willing to sell out America to save his own interests. Thank you for listening. I'm going to go get Monday's podcast done.